Hey, welcome to my channel. Today we have a neighbor from hell HOA story that is actually one of my all-time favorites. This happened several years ago in a community in Florida where I used to live. So this is a true story. The HOA president thought that he owned my land. He tried to bully me into selling it to him for a very low price. And when he found out that I was his landlord, he got scared because he didn't want me to find out who he really was. So he tried to hide behind his wife at the board meeting. This guy literally had no idea who he was dealing with. So let me start at the beginning. I bought this property several years ago as an investment property. And as soon as the deal closed, I received a letter from the HOA. It said that I needed to pay $20,000 in fines. And I was confused because I had no idea what they were talking about. They said that I owed them money from the previous owner, and I told them that I'm not responsible for anything from the previous owner. And then they said that I would need to be put on a payment plan. I refused to do that. I said that they would need to take me to court if they wanted their money. The president of the HOA was a former lawyer, so he probably thought that he could scare me off by threatening to sue me. But it only made me angry, which is never a good thing. So now he has officially stepped into neighbor from hell territory. I rented the house out to a family, and they lived there happily for 2 years. One day the tenant called me, and she said that the HOA president came over to the house while she was grilling out back. She said that he asked her if she knew who owned the house, and she said yes. He said that he wanted to buy the house from me, and he asked her what I was charging the tenants. I don't know why he needed to know how much rent was being paid, but maybe he was trying to figure out what he could afford. He offered to pay $300,000 for the house. I laughed, and I told her to tell him that I wasn't interested in selling. Then he started threatening her, and she was pretty scared, but I told her just to ignore him. Well, about 6 months later, I decided that I wanted to sell the house. So I hired a real estate agent, and I put the house up for sale. About 2 weeks after the house was listed, I received another letter from the HOA president, and this time he was threatening to sue me again. He said that I had violated some kind of rule by renting the house out. It didn't matter that I had lived there myself first, and then I rented it out afterwards. I was violating the rules according to the HOA because I wasn't occupying the house as the owner. I actually checked the deed and the HOA covenants, and neither document says that I can't rent the property out. All it says is that I can't lease it for commercial purposes. So obviously, I'm not running a business from this house. I'm just renting it out to a family. I also spoke to a few neighbors, and they said that they had problems with the HOA president. They said that he was always trying to intimidate people, and he tries to use fear to get his way. One neighbor even told me that the HOA president had threatened her because she parked her RV in her driveway. I couldn't believe that someone could be such a jerk. So I told my realtor to keep the HOA president's name and contact info, and I wanted to confront him about the issues that he was causing. When he called me about the house, I pretended to be nice. I was super friendly. I told him that I'm the new owner, and I asked him what his problem was. He said that he was concerned about the rental history of the house, and I told him that I was the one who had lived there before I rented it out. I told him that I had the right to rent it out, and I didn't appreciate his threats. Then he tried to change the subject. He asked me what I planned on doing with the house. I told him that I intended to sell it, and he asked me what price I was going to list it for. Now here's where things get interesting. He tried to pressure me into selling it to him by telling me that I wouldn't be able to get the full price anyway because the house needed a lot of work. I told him to go ahead and make an offer. So now we're at the point where I want to sell the house. But I don't want to sell it to the HOA president. I accepted an offer for $425,000, and the home inspection went fine. But during the appraisal, the appraiser noticed that the front yard had been re-landscaped since the pictures that the realtor took for the listing. So the appraiser contacted me, and I told him that I had done the work myself. When the appraisal came back, the house appraised for $425,000. so everything seemed to be going smoothly. Then I received a call from the HOA President. He said that he heard that I was selling the house and he wanted to know if it was true. I said that it was true, and he asked me what price I was selling it for. I lied to him, and I told him that I was selling it for $450,000. Then he tried to make another deal with me. He said that if I sold the house to anyone else, I would be ruining the neighborhood. He said that he would do anything to stop me from selling it to anyone else. I told him that he should just mind his own business. Then he tried to threaten me, but I hung up on him. I was getting suspicious that the HOA president was trying to screw me over, so I did a title search. I wanted to make sure that he wasn't planning to file a fraudulent claim on the house. I discovered that he and his wife both signed the original declaration for the Homeowners Association. They were founding members. They were also the only ones who signed the declaration as officers of the HOA. That gave me an idea. I knew that the HOA had filed liens on my property for the unpaid fines, so I went down to the courthouse and I found the lien. Then I took the lien to title company. They issued a title policy showing that I owned the land free and clear of any liens. I took the title policy back to the courthouse and I recorded it. I had my attorney draft a letter to the HOA president. The letter stated that I was his landlord, and I wanted him to cease and assist any further attempts to harass me or my tenants. Then I sent him the lease agreement. He realized that I wasn't just some naive investor who was new to the area. I was actually his landlord. Here's where the story gets really funny. The HOA president showed up to the next board meeting with his wife. He was hoping that she could back him up if I confronted him about the issues that he had caused. At the meeting, I confronted him and I told him that he needed to stop harassing me. I didn't mention that I was his landlord yet. His face turned white as a sheet. He stuttered and tried to deny it. His wife tried to defend him, but I told her that I was done talking to him. I left the meeting and I went straight to my truck. The HOA president came running after me. He was begging me to forgive him and forget about the whole thing. He said that he didn't know that I was his landlord, and he apologized for everything that he had done. He begged me to accept his apology, and I did. The HOA president stopped calling me after that. I think that he was too scared to mess with me. He probably didn't want to risk losing his tenants, or maybe he was afraid that I would take legal action against him. Whatever the reason, I never heard from him again. I ended up selling the house for $450,000. The buyers loved the updates that I had made to the house, and they even mentioned how beautiful the front yard looked. The HOA president was probably kicking himself over that one. I hope you enjoyed the story. Please subscribe if you haven't already, and check out my other videos. Thanks for watching. See you next time.